The stars stretched endlessly across the void, glittering like tiny jewels in the darkness. Humanity's first fleet glided through that endless night, their ships shining with pride and purpose. Inside each vessel, men and women stared at the universe they had always dreamed of reaching. After centuries of struggle, of wars fought on their own world, of famine and disease, humanity had finally taken its place among the stars. Admiral Reyes, tall and steady, stood at the helm of the flagship Pioneer. His eyes reflected the swirl of distant galaxies. Beside him, Captain Lin held a tablet displaying the coordinates of the Galactic Council's capital. "We are about to enter history," Lin whispered. The fleet passed through the final checkpoint, and suddenly the Council's chamber appeared, massive and dazzling beyond imagination. Towering alien structures stretched into the sky, shimmering in colors humans had never seen. Alien delegates filled the chamber, their forms diverse, some floating, some crystalline, others moving on many limbs. Their eyes, their senses, all turned toward the human ships with curiosity and caution. Admiral Reyes walked forward on the polished floor, his uniform crisp, his heart steady but full of emotion. "We come in peace," he said, his voice strong yet humble. "We seek friendship, not war. We bring knowledge, hope, and goodwill." The chamber fell silent. Aliens who had seen the rise and fall of countless civilizations watched these humans carefully. Their language was different, their bodies strange, but there was something in the way humanity carried itself that was undeniable. Courage. The humans had survived their own world's harshest trials, and now they walked before the galaxy's leaders with pride, but without arrogance. A council elder, a towering being of flowing light, spoke. "You are brave to come here. Few species dare to enter without fear, yet you stand unafraid." Reyes bowed respectfully. "We do not fear the unknown. We fear only failing those we love, and failing the promise of life itself." For a moment there was awe. Whispers of admiration floated through the chamber. Some delegates exchanged glances. "Perhaps they are worthy," one said softly. "Perhaps they can belong." Humans began their introductions, sharing gifts of knowledge. They offered devices that could purify water, small machines that healed wounds instantly, and data on surviving planetary disasters. Council members leaned forward, intrigued. Even those who had doubted humanity's readiness could not deny the brilliance, the inventiveness, and the sheer resilience of these people. Children of diplomats, curious and wide-eyed, approached the humans. They reached out to touch their hands, fascinated by the warmth, the simplicity of their faces. Humanity smiled. They had arrived expecting skepticism, perhaps even fear. Yet here they were, accepted, welcomed, almost celebrated. But not everyone was convinced. In shadowed corners of the chamber, some council members whispered warnings. "They are young," hissed one, a scaled creature with multiple eyes. "They are strong, yes, but their nature is unpredictable. They have survived their world's chaos, but how will they face the galaxy?" Other delegates nodded, tense. They had watched species rise, flourish, and then fall into ruin because of their own unchecked ambition. They had seen intelligence without wisdom become a weapon, and something about humanity felt different, unstoppable. Meanwhile, humans believed in hope. They had endured famine that stole millions, wars that burned continents, plagues that reduced entire cities to silence. They had known failure and fear, and yet here they stood, ready to join the great civilizations of the stars. Their hearts were full of dreams. Not of conquest, but of growth, of unity, of belonging. Reyes stepped closer to the council podium, lowering his voice. "We do not claim perfection. We know our flaws, our history of mistakes. But we promise this: humanity will honor this council. We will protect, not destroy. We will learn, not dominate. And we will never turn away from what is right, even when it is hard." The chamber remained still. For the first time in centuries, the Council had encountered a species whose strength came not only from power or intelligence, but from something deeper, a fire in their hearts that refused to die. The Council's leader, A shimmering entity with a voice like wind through crystal finally spoke. Humans, your courage is evident. Your spirit shines brighter than the stars themselves. You may have a place here. You may even teach us something we have forgotten. A ripple of approval moved through the chamber. Human faces lit with pride but also humility. They knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown wonders and unknown dangers. But humanity had survived everything on Earth. Surely they could survive the stars. Outside the chamber, the fleet shimmered in the light of distant suns. And for the first time in history, humanity had reached a place where they were not feared, not small, not struggling, but acknowledged as equals. Little did they know. The galaxy would soon discover that the greatest threat was not a weapon, nor a disease, nor even an invading force. The greatest force the Council would learn was humanity itself. Humanity's arrival in the Galactic Council had been celebrated, but it was only the first step. Now came the true test, proving themselves worthy of the galaxy's trust. Admiral Reyes and his team worked tirelessly. Scientists, engineers, and diplomats spread across the Council worlds, offering knowledge and assistance wherever it was needed. Planets once struggling under harsh climates or disease suddenly flourished under human innovation. Cities that had been crumbling were rebuilt with speed and precision. Dr. Lena Moore stood before a council assembly on the water-covered world of Alara. With a simple device, she purified lakes and rivers in hours, turning poisoned water into life-giving streams. Children laughed and splashed as their parents watched with disbelief. "This is incredible," said one elder delegate. "Your species heals not just yourselves but the worlds you touch." Human engineers redesigned engines for starships, making travel between systems faster than ever before. They shared medical advancements that cured illnesses other species had battled for centuries. Wherever humans went, hope followed. Yet the speed of their progress sparked unease. The Zilari, a council species known for their caution, watched closely. Their eyes glimmered with concern as human influence spread. "They grow too fast," whispered one. "Their solutions are brilliant, but what if brilliance becomes recklessness?" On the planet Noria, humans helped defend colonies from a marauding fleet. Using strategy, intelligence, and a willingness to take risks, they turned the tide in hours. Entire worlds were saved. Yet when the battle ended, alien commanders surveyed the damage. Cities still stood, but forests were scorched, and some settlements were destroyed in the fight. Humanity had triumphed, but at a cost. Captain Lin, returning to Earth after months of service, watched the reports with unease. "We only did what was necessary," she said. "We saved millions. Isn't that what matters?" Admiral Reyes nodded, his eyes troubled. "Intent matters, yes. But so does perception. Some will see our strength and wonder if it is a threat. Still, humans could not stop helping. They could not stop innovating. For them, survival was a sacred duty, and life, any life, was precious. Whether building hospitals on dying planets or teaching entire species new sciences, humans poured themselves into every task with energy and determination. On the Council's capital, young humans taught alien children mathematics and storytelling. They shared songs and art, filling alien halls with laughter and color. Humans believed in connection and shared dreams and unity, and yet, in shadowed corners, unease grew. The krill, a tentacled species with many eyes, whispered, "They think only of good, but what of power? What of ambition? Can a species that grows this fast ever be trusted?" One night, Admiral Reyes stood on the observation deck of the Pioneer, gazing at the swirling stars. He thought of Earth, of its hardships and victories, of the people who had endured everything and yet continued to hope. "We are nothing if we do not help," he murmured to himself. "We are strongest when we give, when we create, when we save." But the Council's unease was not idle. Delegates began meetings in secret, comparing notes on human activity. Each act of heroism, each technological miracle, each planetary rescue was recorded, not just with admiration, but with apprehension. Humanity's power, combined with their relentless spirit, was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Even as humans continued to work, unaware of growing suspicion, a small tension began to thread through the council chambers. Allies and friends began to look over their shoulders. Diplomats praised humanity's brilliance while quietly questioning whether such a force could remain peaceful forever. Yet humanity did not falter. They repaired, taught, and inspired, driven by a simple belief: life was worth saving, and the galaxy could always become better. And in that belief lay their strength, a strength that could lift entire worlds, but also a strength that one day might terrify the very civilizations they hoped to join. For now, humans smiled. They were building bridges, creating hope, and proving themselves as partners in the galaxy. The stars seemed brighter, the future limitless. But in the quiet, whispers of caution spread, hinting at challenges humanity would face, not from themselves, but from a galaxy unsure if it could control the force they had unleashed. Little did humans know, this tension, born of admiration and fear, would set the stage for a conflict unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. At first, the galaxy celebrated humanity's presence. Planets healed, economies prospered, and species that had struggled for centuries found hope. But soon subtle signs began to appear, signs that even humans could not yet see. On the mining planet of Clyra, reports of pirate attacks reached the Galactic Council. Entire colonies were at risk, and the Council sent a fleet of humans to handle the threat. Humanity's response was swift and decisive. Within hours, the pirate ships were disabled, their leaders captured, and the colonies secured. The people cheered, grateful for the human intervention. But when the Council surveyed the aftermath, unease spread like wildfire. Human forces had used advanced strategies that minimized their own losses, yes, but the collateral damage was unexpected. Pirate strongholds were completely obliterated. Some surrounding structures were destroyed. Even small, untouched villages had suffered from the shockwaves of the battle. "This is incredible efficiency," one council member said, a crystalline being named Thalri. "They solved a problem no one else could, yet the destruction seems excessive." The humans didn't see the problem. To them, the pirates were a threat, and a threat had been eliminated. Lives were saved. That was what mattered. Admiral Reyes and Captain Lin reviewed the reports, puzzled by the Council's concern. "We saved thousands," Lin said. "We did exactly what was necessary." "Yes," Reyes replied quietly. "But perhaps necessity looks different to them than it does to us." As humanity moved from planet to planet, the pattern repeated. They repaired damaged ecosystems, built defenses for vulnerable colonies, and implemented technologies that transformed worlds overnight. Each victory, however, left small marks, scars that alien species noticed even if humans did not. On the agricultural world of Farron, human engineers stabilized a failing ecosystem by redirecting rivers and planting thousands of new crops. The plan worked perfectly. Food production doubled in months. Yet the locals noticed that some native species had vanished, unable to adapt to the rapid changes. Humans had unintentionally rewritten the balance of life. The Zilari watched carefully. "They act with goodwill," said a council elder, "but they do not see the consequences beyond their intentions. Their strength, their speed, it is unlike anything we have encountered. Could they be dangerous without even realizing it?" Even the humans sensed a shift. Whispers followed them in council meetings. Diplomats praised their efforts but also questioned the rapid changes humanity brought. It was subtle, barely visible, but the humans felt it. A shadow of doubt had begun to stretch across the galaxy. Meanwhile, the humans themselves were unaware of the unease. They celebrated victories, proud of saving lives and helping civilizations thrive. Children they had taught on distant planets sang songs of human heroes. Adults marveled at technology humans had shared freely, often calling it miraculous. Humanity's heart was full of hope, yet ignorance of the growing fear around them sowed seeds of future conflict. Then came the first incident that shook the council. On a mineral-rich planet, a human expedition attempted to stabilize an unstable core beneath a city. The humans' calculations were precise, their intentions pure. They sought to prevent a disaster that could have destroyed the entire world. But the effort backfired. The planet's core erupted unexpectedly, creating tremors that swallowed half the city. Thousands of lives were lost, including those the humans had hoped to protect. Survivors looked at the humans with fear and anger. The council demanded immediate answers. Admiral Reyes stood before the assembly, voice heavy with sorrow. "We did not intend harm," he said. "We calculated every risk. Our goal was to save lives. We failed, and for that we mourn with you." But intentions were no longer enough. Across the chamber, murmurs of fear spread. "This is why caution was wise," said a Krill delegate. "They do not understand the galaxy. Their strength is unmatched, but their judgment is not." Humans left the council chambers that day with heavy hearts. For the first time, they sensed that admiration could turn to fear. Every act of heroism, every solution to a problem carried unintended consequences. Their brilliance was undeniable, but so was the growing tension in the galaxy. As the fleet returned to orbit around Earth, Admiral Reyes looked at the stars, thinking of the worlds they had helped and those they had inadvertently harmed. "We wanted to be friends," he whispered. "We wanted to belong. But perhaps being powerful in this galaxy is more dangerous than we imagined." And somewhere in the hidden corridors of the council, alien species began to take note. Humanity's determination was extraordinary, their courage unmatched. But could the very qualities that made them heroes also make them the galaxy's greatest threat? Little did humans know, the first signs of fear were only the beginning. Their journey had just taken a turn, and the galaxy's perception of them was about to shift in ways they could not yet imagine. The galaxy had watched humanity with a mix of admiration and unease. But admiration began to crack when the disaster at Clyra was followed by something far worse. The neighboring star system of Orinthia went silent. Communication ceased and no ships returned from the system's core worlds. The Galactic Council sent a delegation to investigate, and the humans were called in to assist. They arrived quickly, their ships slicing through space with unmatched speed. On approach, the devastation became clear. Orinthia's planets were lifeless. Cities were flattened, oceans boiled, and the air shimmered with radiation. Humanity's engineers and scientists rushed to analyze what had happened. They discovered that an experimental stabilization device meant to prevent a core collapse had triggered a catastrophic chain reaction. Millions of lives were lost. Entire civilizations were gone. Admiral Reyes stood at the bridge of the flagship Pioneer, staring at the ruined worlds. "We tried to save them," he whispered. "We never wanted this." Council delegates gathered, voices shaking with anger and fear. "Humanity," said the head of the council, a luminescent being named Solara, "your actions have caused destruction on a scale that even our most dangerous wars have not achieved. You call this help?" Reyes lowered his head. "Our intentions were pure. We acted to prevent disaster. We failed, but our hearts were with the people." A murmur ran through the council. Some delegates still believed in humanity, in their courage and ingenuity. Others could not ignore the scale of the tragedy. The Zilari whispered in the shadows. "They are unpredictable. Their power is beyond our control." We welcomed them. But did we make a mistake? On Earth, humans were devastated. The news reached every city, every home. Families mourned. Scientists who had worked on the stabilization devices questioned themselves. "We wanted to do good," said Dr. Moore, tears in her eyes. "We never imagined this outcome." Admiral Reyes convened his officers. "We cannot change what happened," he said. "But we must learn. We must improve. Humanity is meant to protect life, and even in failure we will continue to try. That is who we are." Yet the Council's perception had shifted. No longer did they see humans as promising allies. Now they saw a force too strong, too capable, and too unpredictable Even good intentions could result in disaster. Whispers turned into warnings. Diplomats began to question whether humanity could ever be trusted. The Krill delegate spoke privately to Solara. "We cannot allow them to continue unchecked," it said. "Their nature is unstoppable. Their strength will either save or destroy. We cannot risk it." Humans, unaware of these deliberations, continued their work. They rebuilt what they could, offered aid to nearby systems, and sent messages of apology and solidarity. Their hearts were sincere, their sorrow real. But the Council could not forget Arinthia. Millions of lives gone. Entire cultures erased. The galaxy's fear was growing. Admiral Reyes walked through the streets of a Council world rebuilt by humans. Children waved, families smiled, and life seemed to bloom. And yet he could sense the tension. The Council watched them closely now, measuring every move. Humanity's brilliance was undeniable, but now it carried a shadow. A warning. He returned to the Pioneer, gazing at the stars. "We wanted friendship," he whispered. "We wanted to help. But the galaxy may not see us as friends anymore." In the Council chambers, a debate raged. "They are too powerful," said Thalri, the crystalline delegate. "They act with good intent, but their strength is unmatched. One day it may turn against us," Solara sighed. "We welcomed them. We taught them, shared knowledge, gave them opportunities. Yet their very nature makes them dangerous. We cannot ignore it any longer." The catalyst was clear. Humanity, celebrated as heroes, had become a symbol of both hope and fear. Their courage and ingenuity saved lives. But their mistakes reminded the galaxy that even good intentions could become disasters on a cosmic scale. And somewhere, deep in space, Admiral Reyes and his crew looked at the galaxy they had tried to help. They saw the fear forming in the eyes of the Council, the doubt in their voices. Humanity had always faced adversity. They had always survived. But now the true challenge was not surviving nature or disease. It was surviving the galaxy itself. A galaxy that might soon see humanity not as friends, but as a threat to everything they had fought to protect. The Galactic Council had made its decision. Humanity, once celebrated as allies and heroes, was now viewed with suspicion, fear, and caution. Their mistakes had revealed a power no one could ignore, and the Council feared what might happen if that power went unchecked. Admiral Reyes received the notice personally. The Council's fleets would converge on Earth. Humanity was to be contained. Not punished, not destroyed, at least not yet, but controlled. Their movements would be monitored, their technology restricted, their influence curtailed. Reyes stood on the bridge of the Pioneer, staring at the glowing stars. "Contain us?" he whispered. "We have done nothing but help. We only want to protect life." Captain Lin placed a hand on his shoulder. "They fear us. And fear can be dangerous, but we cannot surrender our principles." The Council fleets arrived, immense and intimidating. Ships of unimaginable size and power filled Earth's orbit. They did not fire, but their presence alone was a statement. Humanity was now under scrutiny. Communications were cut, borders monitored, and satellites tracked. Reyes activated the communication channel. "We are humans of Earth," he said, voice calm but firm. "We have never harmed another species without cause. We only seek friendship. We only seek to protect life." The Council's response was cold, unyielding. "You are the threat. Your strength, your rapid expansion, your influence, it cannot be allowed to continue unchecked. Humanity must comply or face restriction." Humans gathered in cities across the planet, watching the alien fleets. Some feared war. Some feared that the Council's intentions were unjust, and some, especially those who had fought to protect their species and others, felt the sting of betrayal. Humanity had come in peace, had offered hope, and now the galaxy viewed them as dangerous. Admiral Reyes convened his leaders. "We do not seek war," he said. "But we cannot allow fear to dictate our future. We must be ready to defend ourselves, not because we want to, but because we must." The first attempt to enforce containment came in subtle ways. Alien ships blocked human exploration vessels. Council monitors tracked every movement. Even peaceful missions were intercepted. Humanity responded carefully, avoiding aggression, trying to show that they were not a threat. But the Council misread restraint as weakness. Delegates whispered, "They will comply only until they are stronger." Then what? On a remote planet, humans intervened to stop a natural disaster, a collapsing tectonic ridge that could have killed millions. They succeeded, but the Council reported the event as a violation. "Your actions," the Council said, "were unilateral. You do not have the authority to intervene in other systems." Reyes felt a heavy weight. They had saved lives, yet the galaxy judged them not by deeds but by potential. Humanity's heroism had become a liability. Even so, humans did not falter. On Earth, families watched the stars with hope. Scientists continued to develop technology, not for conquest but to heal, to explore, to save. Soldiers trained not for war but for protection. Humanity's strength was unwavering, but so was their morality. The Council sent an ultimatum: comply fully or face consequences. Humanity's leaders met in a great hall on the Pioneer. For the first time, the possibility of confrontation seemed real. "We cannot submit to fear," Reyes said firmly. "We cannot compromise our nature. Humanity survives by being brave, by facing challenges, by protecting life, even when others doubt us." Captain Lin nodded. "Then we prepare, not to attack but to defend, to show the galaxy who we are and why we must be free." Messages went out to human colonies across the stars. "Stand ready," Reyes said. "Not in hatred, not in aggression, but in protection. If the galaxy sees us as a threat, we will prove that the true threat is only what they imagine, not who we are." The Council watched, uneasy. Humanity's restraint, their refusal to bow, only deepened fear. They had survived famine, disease, and war on Earth. They had healed dying worlds, saved millions, and yet they could not be controlled. Every action, every choice revealed both hope and danger. And in that tension, a realization spread. Humanity's strength was unmatched. Their courage was limitless. Their spirit, once praised, now inspired both awe and dread. The Council had welcomed them, celebrated them, and now feared them. Reyes looked at the stars, thinking of the people of Earth, of all those they had helped, and all those they had yet to save. "They may fear us," he whispered, "but fear will not stop us. Humanity survives. Humanity protects. Humanity endures, and we will show the galaxy why." For the first time, humans felt the weight of being truly seen. Not as allies, not as friends, but as a force the galaxy could not ignore. And somewhere in the silent void, the seeds of the next great chapter were taking root, a chapter where humanity would rise, not to conquer, but to endure, to survive, and to prove that the greatest power in the galaxy came from the heart. The galaxy had decided that humanity was a threat. The Council's fleets moved to enforce control, but they underestimated what it meant to awaken the true spirit of Earth's people. Humanity did not seek war, but they would not bow to fear or intimidation. Admiral Reyes stood on the bridge of the flagship Pioneer, watching the Council fleets amass around Earth. Each ship was massive, bristling with weapons designed to suppress entire planets, but humanity's ships, though smaller, glimmered with ingenuity, strategy, and determination. "They think they can control us," he said quietly. "They think fear will make us submit. They do not understand who we are." Captain Lin, standing beside him, nodded. "Then let them learn." The first encounter began not with chaos but with precision. Human fleets moved in synchronized patterns, evading attacks with skill no alien race had anticipated. Every maneuver, every deployment of defenses was calculated. Alien commanders had never seen a species adapt so quickly, thinking and acting with flawless logic under pressure. On the planet Virelia, human engineers redirected a collapsing energy reactor that threatened to destroy an entire colony. While Council ships watched, ready to intervene, humanity's team stabilized the reactor, saving millions. The Council saw the solution and understood the true threat. Humans did not act recklessly. They acted decisively, intelligently, and with courage. In space, battles erupted. Humanity did not attack to destroy. They attacked to disable, to protect. Alien fleets found themselves outmaneuvered, their weapons countered before they could fire. Every human ship was a beacon of strategy, every captain an embodiment of ingenuity. It was not brute force that won the day, but intelligence, unity, and adaptability. Admiral Reyes gave orders calmly, each word precise. Protect life. Avoid unnecessary destruction. Show them what humanity can do. And humanity did. They turned defense into victory, survival into legend. Alien soldiers watched in disbelief as their most advanced ships were outsmarted by humans who seemed ordinary at first glance. Meanwhile, back on Earth, civilians watched the skies. Children cheered when they saw human fleets succeed. Families held their breath as each report came in. Lives saved, colonies defended, disasters averted. Humanity was fighting, yes, but fighting to survive, to protect, to endure. The Council realized with growing fear that they had underestimated this species. Their courage is infinite, one elder said. Their intelligence, unparalleled. They do not fight for power. They fight for life, and that makes them unstoppable. Admiral Reyes knew the stakes. He looked at the crew around him, at the faces of men and women who had spent years preparing for this moment. We are humanity, he said. Our purpose is survival, yes, but not selfish survival. We protect, we endure, we rise, and no one will take that from us. Humanity's fleet moved through space with unmatched efficiency. Alien weapons failed to match human strategy. Entire squadrons were captured, disarmed, or evaded entirely. And yet humans mourned the losses of even the smallest skirmishes. They were fighters, but not killers. Every life mattered. In the council chambers, panic spread. Plans to contain humanity collapsed under the weight of their brilliance. They are not reckless, admitted Solara, her light dimmed with fear. They are perfect in their strategy. Their morality guides their strength. We cannot overpower them. We cannot predict them. We can only watch. Humanity's victory was not measured in destruction but in survival and protection. They proved that no force, no matter how great, could dictate their future. They were united, resilient, and unyielding. Admiral Reyes gazed at the stars, heart heavy but resolute. We did not come here to conquer, he whispered. We came to belong. But if they fear us, if they try to stop us, then we will show them why humanity endures. Not through hatred, not through aggression, but through courage, intelligence, and an unbreakable will to survive. Somewhere in the void, the Council understood the truth. Humanity was not a threat born of malice. Humanity was a threat because they were unstoppable, because they acted from principle, because they refused to surrender to fear, and that, more than any weapon, made them formidable beyond measure. As the fleets withdrew, human ships standing victorious, the galaxy began to whisper stories of Earth's people. Stories of a species small in appearance yet enormous in spirit. Of a race that could adapt, endure, and overcome any obstacle. Humanity had not just survived, they had risen above doubt, above fear, above every expectation, and in that rise, the universe learned a truth it could not ignore. No threat in the galaxy was greater than a species determined to protect life, guided by courage and bound by an unbreakable will. Humanity had won, not through destruction, but through the sheer power of who they were. The Council fleets withdrew, leaving human ships in orbit above Earth. Humanity had survived, not by conquest but by courage, intelligence, and the will to protect life. Every system that had doubted them now trembled at the sight of their strength, not a strength born of aggression, but of unyielding resolve. Admiral Reyes stood on the bridge of the Pioneer, gazing at Earth below. Cities gleamed in the sunlight, rivers sparkled, and fields stretched endlessly. Humans had endured famine, disease, and wars on their homeworld, and now, standing among the stars, they had endured the galaxy itself. Captain Lin approached him, eyes shining. They feared us, she said softly, but we did not change. We remained who we are. That is our greatest victory. Reyes nodded. Yes, we fought not to destroy but to protect. That is what makes humanity different. That is what makes us strong. Across the galaxy, whispers began. Alien civilizations spoke in awe of a species that had arrived humbly, shared knowledge freely, and yet could not be controlled. Humans had healed worlds, saved lives, and endured unimaginable tests. And through it all they had preserved their morality, their heart, and their hope. In council chambers, debates continued. Some delegates admitted that fear had clouded their judgment. They are unlike any species we have known, said Solara. Their power is immense, yes, but it is guided by compassion, courage, and unity. Perhaps we misjudged them, but others remained wary. Their potential is limitless, warned Thalry. We have seen what they can do. They act with honor, but honor can be unstoppable. We must watch them carefully. On Earth, humanity celebrated quietly. Families hugged, children played in the streets, and scientists and engineers continued their work. Not for glory, but because life was precious. Humanity had proven something that words alone could not describe. They could survive anything, and in surviving, they could elevate the galaxy itself. Admiral Reyes visited the memorials built for those lost during humanity's early interstellar missions. He stood silently, remembering the lives that had been sacrificed, not in war but in the pursuit of hope and survival. Each loss weighed heavily, but it also reminded him why humans could never stop striving. Humanity endured because they valued life, because they believed in doing right even when the cost was high. From orbit, Reyes spoke to the crew of the Pioneer. We have learned a lesson the galaxy has yet to understand, he said. Our strength is not in weapons or speed or technology. It is in our spirit. We fight not to dominate, but to protect. We survive not to conquer, but to endure. And that is why humanity will never be forgotten. In the years that followed, humans continued to explore, to heal, to build. They made allies of those who had doubted them and inspired those who had admired them. Their legacy was not just in the worlds they saved or the technology they shared, but in the hearts of every being who saw what humanity could be. Strong, compassionate, unbreakable, alien civilizations began to record stories of humans, not as a threat, not as conquerors, but as a symbol of hope. They told of a species small in size but enormous in spirit, capable of facing extinction, disaster, and fear, and rising stronger each time. Humanity became a legend, a beacon for what was possible when courage, intelligence, and morality guided action. And yet, humanity never forgot humility. They remembered the lives lost, the mistakes made, and the lessons learned. Each mission, each discovery, each act of heroism was tempered by the understanding that with great power comes responsibility. They had been welcomed into the galaxy with hope, feared by those who misunderstood them, and now recognized for what they truly were, a force that could change the cosmos, not with cruelty but with courage. Admiral Reyes looked out at the stars one last time. We are not the threat, he whispered. We are the hope. The galaxy will one day understand that the greatest power is the will to survive, to protect, and to rise above fear. That is humanity. And somewhere across the vast expanse of space, other civilizations told stories of Earth's people, of a species that arrived humbly, healed what was broken, and proved that even in a universe full of dangers, hope, courage, and unbreakable spirit could shine brighter than the stars themselves. Humanity had survived the Council's fear, endured their doubts, and emerged not only alive but stronger than ever. Their legacy was clear. The galaxy had welcomed them, underestimated them, and now it would remember them forever. The stars above Earth burned brightly, reflecting the resilience of a species that refused to bow, refused to break, and refused to be forgotten. Humanity had arrived to be a part of the galaxy, and they had proven that they were its greatest hope.